Okay, here we go. People are starting to show up, so we're going to be doing tonight. We're doing chicken Kiev. Yay! Feel free to. I made it public, so feel free to hit the share button, so that anybody who wants to come see can come see. Since we're doing chicken Kiev tonight, because this past weekend I had the honor of being invited to. Wow, that's even brighter behind me. Okay, so I guess I'll just stand right here. This past weekend I had the honor of being invited to Sean and Samara's wedding. So congratulations to Sean and Samara. It was an awesome time, and one of Samara's favorite things that I've ever made is my chicken Kiev recipe. So tonight's video is for them, and I'm going to now share all of my secrets as to how to make the chicken Kiev. So fun side note before we begin, the chicken Kiev recipe is actually a modified version of the chicken Kiev recipe that Orange is the New Black put out as a promotional poster. It was Red's Chicken Kiev, and it's literally the chicken that is smarter than all other chickens that you can eat and gain its power. So, that said, let's get started. Things you will need for your chicken Kiev. You will need a chicken breast. I have 2 here. You can basically scale this to make as many chicken breasts as you want. For this, I'm going with 2 because that was in a fresh package. But you can make 5, you can make 1, you can make 9. It doesn't matter. You make as many chicken breasts as you want to make. You will also need 4 tablespoons of butter. You'll need 4 tablespoons of butter roughly for every 2 chicken breasts that you want to work with. So bear that in mind. You're going to need a Ziploc bag, a meat tenderizer. If you don't have a meat tenderizer, a pot will do. You're going to need salt. You're going to need black pepper. You're going to need some minced garlic. Now you can use the minced garlic from a jar, or you can use fresh garlic cloves. I had a very long, 12-hour day at work today, so I'm going with the already done minced garlic. And for some people who are less confident in their skill with a knife, the minced garlic is a perfectly good substitute. People will probably tell you, no, you have to use the fresh garlic cloves. It's so much better. It's not. It's really the same these days. The speed with which you can get food to market in the modern world is so fast that the minced garlic is just fine. You will need breadcrumbs. I like to go with the panko breadcrumbs because I like the extra texture. Though if you don't like that extra crunch to your dishes, go with normal fine milled breadcrumbs. So we're gonna go with that. You will also need 1 lemon, and you will need vegetable oil. You can use vegetable oil or canola oil, any oil that you feel comfortable frying in. Your first step is going to be preheating your oven to 350 degrees and getting out a decent sized frying pan out on the stove, but you're not going to do anything with it just yet. You're just going to want it out and ready to go. Okay, let's move some of this stuff out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is I just got a random bowl. This is you're going to need several bowls for this, by the way, and that's why my countertop is so cluttered. I have 3 out right now. You're going to need 1 to mix the inside seasoning for the chicken Kiev. You're going to need 1 for your... Oh, I'm sorry. Ha! I'm an asshole. You're also going to need an egg. You're going to need 1 for the egg wash and 1 for the breadcrumbs. So let's get started on the inside filling, and then while that softens up a bit at room temperature, we will do some other things. So what you're going to do first is you're going to take your butter. You're going to take all 4 tablespoons. Pop that right in there. I'm actually, this was in my fridge until very recently, so I'm actually going to pop this in the microwave for about 10-15 seconds just to soften it up a little bit. If you leave your butter out at room temperature, it's perfectly safe. Butter is shelf-stable. It doesn't have to be refrigerated. It just needs to be covered so bugs don't get in it. If you leave it at room temperature, like because you know you're going to make this later in the night, you put the stick of butter out and keep it covered before you go to work or something, you can skip this step entirely because the butter will be nice and malleable. I decided to do this at the last minute, so I'm going to nuke this real quick. Do you do the flour dredge first, or is it not vital? That is a very good question. Often when you are doing breadcrumbs and frying something, you do a flour, you do egg wash, flour, egg wash, breadcrumbs. This is only going to be partially fried, so no, I'm skipping the flour dredge, but that is a very good question. We're just doing egg wash breadcrumbs because this is a half fry, half bake recipe. So I'll explain that as we go. That is a very good question. Okay. That's about as much. Now you see this has actually already started to melt a bit. We really don't want it to melt because we need this to actually stay at a roughly solid consistency. So let me take a fork. There we go. You can see this is now pretty malleable. Good. So I'm just going to smush that around. I'm going to take about a solid spoonful of your minced garlic. Now the question is, how much garlic do you like? This is kind of one of those to taste things. Garlic is life. So there we go. I'll keep that spoon out in case I want it for other things. Okay. Next, you're going to take your lemon. We'll move this bowl out of the way for a second. And bring our cutting board over. And if you're a fan of my videos and you've seen these before, try to remember when you have your cutting board, always put a towel, either a dish towel or a piece of paper towel underneath your cutting board so that the cutting board does not slide on you for safety. Okay. So you're going to take your Santoku, your knife of choice, and you're going to just kind of cut this into quarters. We're going to bring back our friend the bowl with the butter and the garlic, and you're going to squeeze the juice of this lemon directly into the mix, and if any of the seeds get in there, just pull the seeds out. And actually, I'm only doing 2 chicken breasts instead of 4, so actually we're only going to go with half of the lemon. We don't need to go with the full lemon. The full lemon is if the basic recipe for this is 4 chicken breasts, is 4 family servings. So you'd use 8 tablespoons of butter, another spoonful of garlic, and the whole lemon. But since I'm cutting this in half because I live alone, there we go. Okay. And now I have half of a lemon to figure out what to do with. I'll figure something out for it. Okay. So now you just take a fork and just kind of stir all this together. There you go. You're going to add salt and pepper to taste. And if you really feel the need to have measurements on that, I'd say you're probably looking at like a 1/4 teaspoon. It's true. Like, oh, I've got peach bourbon. I don't know if that lemon's gonna go well with a peach bourbon. I kind of like it sweet, so martini could work though. You're gonna just stir in those seasonings. Good. Alright, so you should have something that looks kind of like buttery, garlicky mush. And that's what you want. So what we're gonna do is kind of scrape all that to one side. Good. And we're gonna put this bowl in the freezer while we work on everything else, because we want it to firm back up a little bit. It'll make manipulating it for the next step a little bit easier. So again, just gotta get it all into one place. Just kind of in the bowl, and you stick this in the freezer. Just gonna firm up a little bit while we're working on other things. So, chicken Kiev is actually a pounded chicken recipe, and I'm going to demonstrate what that is. Chicken marsala, chicken Kiev, chicken cordon bleu, these are all pounded flat recipes. So they're awesome recipes if you've had a shitty day and want to bang the shit out of something. So you're going to take your freezer bag, and you're going to put one of the chicken breasts directly in the freezer bag. And I'm going to find a better place for my phone. I think that'll work. The problem is I'm going to start hitting this with a hammer, basically, and I want my phone to go flying. No, that's too steep of an angle. Hold on. I really need to figure out a better setup for all this. I'm going to keep doing this. I really need to invest in, like, something to hold my phone. Okay. So, you're going to take your meat tenderizer. You're going to use the flat side. If you don't have a meat tenderizer, as I said before, any little pot will do. Anything with a big flat surface that you can whack the shit out of this chicken with will work. You're going to want to even out your as you beat the crap out of this. Don't just whack the same spot over and over again, because you'll just pulverize one little bit of chicken and ruin the consistency. So you just want to it's not love taps though. You are going to whack the shit out of this, but you're going to spread it out till you get the chicken breast evenly nice and flattened all the way across. Should look something like this. So, when you remove your chicken from the bag, it's actually going to be a lot more fragile. It's almost going to want to tear apart. So just kind of do it nice and easy, get it all out of the bag. Good. Awesome. Put that down on your cutting board. And now rinse and repeat with the second chicken breast. I don't know why I moved my phone, seeing as I'm just gonna fucking do this again. I was getting ahead of myself there. Those were ice cube trays. Okay. Now we come back over here. Alrighty. There we go. 2 chicken breasts pounded flat. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're going to get our butter mixture back from the freezer, and as you can see, it's a little bit firmer now, so it's going to be pretty good consistency for what we want. And you're going to take half of the mixture, or if you've got 4 chicken breasts, a quarter, or if you've got 8, an eighth. You're going to divide this stuff evenly. On the 2 chicken breasts. Now you see, if it's too cold and it's too firm, this doesn't want to spread. But if it's too melted, it just kind of runs everywhere. So there's kind of a balancing point of consistency that you want. And you're going to want to get this mostly in the middle. You don't necessarily have to spread it across the entire surface. You want to get really all this in the middle, kind of done up nice. And you don't want too much of it to stick to the fork, because that's a waste. Get on there. Good. Okay. Now, you're going to take your toothpicks, okay, and you're going to roll this up, okay, and you're going to take your ends, basically making like a big purse out of this. I'm going to fold the ends. Ah! Alright, I loused that up. This does take some practice. And I am experienced, and I still fuck it up every now and then. Alright, let's try that again. I'm going to start from this side, because this end broke apart from the rest of the chicken. So we're going to fold that to the inside. And that will help greatly with the problem we're having there. Good. Okay, there we go. And then you're going to take the ends, and you are going to do your best to fold them to the inside. Good. You really only need to do the very ends. Kind of overkilling it here. Good. Okay, you're going to take your toothpicks. 2 of them ought to do it. It's really just enough to keep this bad boy closed. Okay? And that's it. I'm going to try to get the second one to be a little prettier. But that's basically it. Now just remember that you have toothpicks in these when you go to break into them when they're all done. Because otherwise you're going to, you know, get fucking... You're going to stab yourself with toothpick. And that's less than fun. Okay. So, that's going to go to the side for a second. Let's see if I can do the other one a little bit prettier. Alright, there we go. Let's get that on there. Good. See if I can do this one a little bit prettier. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that is a way better example of what this should look like. There we go. Alright. I'm done fucking that up. Alright. Cool, so next, you're going to take your breadcrumbs and put them in the larger of the two remaining bowls. Now, how much breadcrumbs do you need? Probably about a cup. You're not going to use that much, but you need enough to make sure that you can cover the whole thing. So I'm just going to eyeball it and probably throw about a cup of breadcrumbs in there. If you need a little more, you can always throw a little bit more in. I like to use the seasoned breadcrumbs, but you can use plain breadcrumbs. If you use plain breadcrumbs, make sure that you add seasonings to the bowl. Even with the seasoned breadcrumbs, I'm actually still going to throw some extra garlic powder, and onion powder, but those are not required. I just like a heavy amount of spice on everything I eat. If you do add stuff to the breadcrumbs, take a fork and just give them a little stir, just to get the seasonings mixed in with the breadcrumbs. Again, that's an optional step. You don't have to add extra seasoning, especially if you're using seasoned breadcrumbs. Okay? Now at this point, I'm going to crack an egg into the other bowl. But before we do that, we're going to want to get our oil up to temperature. So you're going to take your vegetable oil, stay. Oh, screw you. Nope, it doesn't go there. Okay, good. And you want to get, a solid layer. So this is because we're going to be frying it. You want there to be a little bit of depth to the oil. And we're going to go ahead and put that on medium heat. While we work on getting the breading done. Would this work with panko flakes? Yep, would absolutely. Those are panko breadcrumbs that I'm using. So this will absolutely work with panko. You're going to take one egg. I have this bowl here. And beat it with a fork. If you're doing this with, if you're doing like 4 of these, you probably want to use 2 eggs, unless you've got like jumbo eggs. Just because you just want to make sure you get it. The eggs in this are just going to serve as a coating. It's basically just the glue that's going to hold our breadcrumbs to the chicken. Can you substitute olive oil? No, and I'll tell you why. No. Olive oil's smoke point is too low for frying. You can use olive oil to saute. You use it for like vegetables and things. But to actually do anything that you're really going to fry something in, like we're going to do with these chicken breasts, the temp is too high. The oil will just start smoking on you and it'll burn, and olive oil, the smoke point is way too low for frying. You do not use olive oil for frying. Vegetable oil or canola oil. So, I'm going to take our chicken breasts, give them a little bath, scoop the egg, get it all the way around, just so it's got a solid coating. Good. And then right into the breadcrumbs. Now, if I had more space, the way that I would do this is I would set everything up in a line, and the hand that does the breadcrumbs would never come into contact with the egg directly. So I'd have one hand for the wet part and one hand for the dry part, and that way you don't get everything sticking to yourself. And you don't have to rinse your hands in between every step. So we're just going to give these a little toss in the breadcrumbs. If you don't feel confident to actually physically toss them like this, you can always just reach your hand in, right, and just brush the breadcrumbs all the way around. Just want to make sure that you get a nice sticky coating of breadcrumbs on all of your chicken. Okay. I'm going to move that a little bit so you can see what it looks like. And you should have something that looks like that. Okay. So our misshapen friend over here is going to get the same treatment. Oh, and it broke apart because he's all fucking misshapen. I did a shitty job of rolling this one. Alright, that's gonna happen. Don't worry about it. You just pinch it all back together and stick the toothpick back in. That's the fun of learning to cook. This kind of shit is just gonna happen. Alright. So there's our kind of misshapen second one. Alrighty. Yeah, yes. Mutant chicken Kiev. Right. So, I'm going to, so we have our oil here. It's on medium heat. It's been going while we were doing all that. You kind of feel over it. It's not, doesn't look like it's quite hot enough yet though. So we're gonna jack that up a little bit and just wait about another minute. Does anyone have any questions for me while while I'm waiting for the oil to get up to a little bit higher temperature? The oil temp, if you happen to have a candy thermometer or a frying thermometer, you want the oil to be at about 300, 350 degrees, but it's not super critical. You just don't want to burn it. You're also going to get your tongs for this, which requires me to pull mine out because I don't actually use them very often. Get in there. Give those a rinse. What kind of sides go well with this? Excellent question. I like to do vegetables and a starch with basic protein dishes like this. So something like mashed potatoes, spinach, asparagus, summer squash, butternut squash, basically any root vegetable or any green vegetable. My personal favorites to do with this are garlic mashed potatoes and like a brown butter sautéed asparagus. Okay, that should be getting close enough. We'll get started. So we're going to take our chicken Kiev and put it in the oil. Turn that up a little bit more since the food is going to absorb a lot of the heat from that oil and we want to maintain the oil temp. Good. Okay. So you just set it right in your oil, and now your only objective is don't fuck with it. Don't poke it. Don't slide it around. Don't feel the need to go touching everything. Your objective right now is to not fuck with it for about, we'll call it 3 minutes. Okay? And at the end of the 3 minutes, what we're going to do is you're going to pick up each one, you're going to rotate it to the other side, and just set it right back down in the oil for about another 3 minutes. Okay? You're not looking to turn it 1,000 times. You're going to do one flip, and that's it. Yeah, leave that chicken alone. Now remember, we preheated our oven at the start of this to 350 degrees. That's where the rest of the cooking for the chicken is going to happen. And for that, I am going to use... Now you can use a 13 by 9. So for that second phase, when we get to it, you can use a 13 by 9. You can use... Just turning that back down to medium. You can use like a 13 by 9. You can use a disposable baking sheet. You can use any of these options. I'm just looking around my apartment and seeing, what do I have today? So today I'm going to use... Yeah, I have a few more of these cheap disposable little baking trays. So that's what I'm going to use. But you can use whatever you've got. If you have a frying pan, like the one I have here, where there's no plastic components, nothing like that on the grip or anything, you can actually drain the oil out of it and put the whole frying pan directly in the oven. The only reason I'm not going to do that is because I don't feel like draining the oil out of that pan right now, because I'm lazy. So I'm going to transfer it to this. But that's an option as well. You can use the glass Pyrex baking dishes if you've got those. Whatever you've got that you can stick in the oven. You just don't want to put it on something that's completely flat, and that's only because there is butter and stuff inside the, stuffed inside the chicken, and it's gonna, as it gets to temp, it's gonna want to ooze out. And depending on how well you rolled it and pinched it, the objective is to get most of that stuck inside, but inevitably something's gonna leak out. So you do want to use something that has an edge. You don't want to just leave it completely on like a flat baking sheet with no lip or anything, because it will run off the edge and then spill inside your oven, which then causes everything to smoke and is a pain in the ass, and etc. So there's our timer. As you can see, our misshapen one is already starting to fall apart. Kind of knew that was going to happen. And that's it. So I'm actually going to only give this one about 2 minutes, because it looks like the oil is doing its job rather well, and that's browning up nicely. There we go. Just as a safety note, in case I know some of these people are new people watching this video are new to cooking, whenever you do something like this with the breadcrumbs, you throw the extra breadcrumbs away. You never, ever, ever reuse breadcrumbs that have come into contact with raw chicken. No. Bad. Don't do it. Could you pre-fry this and bake in a Dutch oven over an open flame? Absolutely. You could, if you don't have access to an oven, or your oven is shitty about controlling temp or anything like that, yes. As a matter of fact, my Dutch oven has the remnants of cheese soup in it right now, so I won't show you, but yes, you could do that. You're going to want to put a lid on it, and you're going to have to just be real careful about the temp, because otherwise it will burn. So just... the best way to do it is to use the bake setting in an actual oven. Yeah, you could absolutely do it in a Dutch oven if push came to shove. Always remember to clean up your workspace. So I'm just going to hit our disposable baking tray with some sprayable canola oil. This is just so that everything doesn't stick to it. Give it a healthy coat. That's the timer. So we're going to kill the heat to our oil. Shake off the extra oil, and they go right in our baking tray. Okay. Campfire chicken Kiev. Yes. All right. Dutch oven, open. I get you. Open flame. I was thinking the burner, but yeah, campfire chicken Kiev. You're absolutely right. You could do that. So now, our little chicken Kievs are just going to go straight into the oven, which we remember we preheated to 350 degrees. Ooh, that's hot. We're going to set our timer for 15 minutes. At the end of the 15 minutes, you're just going to want to check to make sure that the chicken has been cooked all the way through. Now remember, because we pounded it, now you wonder, so here's a little bit of a physics lesson to go with our recipe here. So, remember how we pounded the chicken flat at the beginning? The cross section of the chicken breast is now only about this thick, which means it's actually going to cook through fairly quickly. It's not like a big thick chicken breast where 15 minutes at 350 would not be enough to get all the way through, an inch and a half thick chicken breast. But because we pounded it flat, the actual chicken itself is only this, it's only like this thick, so it actually is going to cook through much easier, especially since we browned everything in the frying. So this is really just to meld all the flavors together and give it that last bit of cooking. At the end of 15 minutes, give it a check. If it's not done, just give it another 5 or go until it's cooked all the way through. Once it's done, you pull it out of the oven, let it sit for a couple of minutes, and then serve with whatever sides and stuff you like to go with. Believe it or not, this is it. That's it. There isn't anything else. This is it. And one of the most requested recipes I've got, and it's actually that easy. There isn't anything else to do. I'm not going to sit around here for 15 minutes while we wait for that to be done. So this will be the end. I'll wait a couple of minutes right now if anybody's got any final questions, and then we'll call it. And I will post, of course, pictures of the final dish once I pull it out of the oven to demonstrate what everything should look like when it is done. Any questions? Speak now, or forever hold your peace. Bueller? Bueller? That's not even booze, that's just iced tea. I've had a long fucking day. Alright. That looks like it's pretty much it. So, like I said, pretty simple recipe. Just, if anyone has any questions on anything in the video or any preparations, feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, I hope everyone has enjoyed this. And remember, remember the rat from Ratatouille. Anybody can cook. I'm sick of listening to my friends tell me they can't cook. Just do what I did. Nothing I did there was terribly complicated. Most of you are more crafty than I am. So, if you can make works of art, you can fucking pound chicken breast with a mallet. I have faith in you. Alright. Night, folks.